All right, guys. Here's a good one for you. Mijenta Tequila, an amazing little brand. It's really probably one of the few brands that, I see on tequila matchmakers where the panel and the community almost absolutely agree on how good the tequila is. I mean, they're within a few points of each other at most. I mean, most of them are almost identical, 1 point off. So that really has to speak highly of this tequila that we're going to truly uh, dive into today. Talk about the tequila master, which we'll save some of that, and some of the tricks and techniques that is used to make this fabulous tequila. Today I got with Mike with me um, from it's Alto,
Altos Planos.
and they are you're basically the uh,
We're the actual brand owner. There are three co-founders,
yes.
uh, and we actually use a third party CTA, Casa Tequila Arandas, to make it. But yes, um, I guess that's the best way to call it. Altos Planos is the marketing company behind the brand and
Okay,
actual owner of the brand.
awesome. Well, you guys have done a fabulous
Well,
job on it. We got some truly amazing spirits that we got behind me.
oh wow, that's
So
great.
um, I guess let's start off with the first thing. The kind of things that I started off with. That we were going to talk about. So we got a female tequila
Yep.
master,
Hmm.
Anna Marie, which is well known in the tequila community, and she is doing this one um, out of Gnome 1412, which isn't where she normally does it. She
Yep.
she likes to also play up in the Highlands quite a bit. I almost had the opportunity to meet her when I was down there in Mexico, and schedules got conflicted a
Hmm.
little bit. But I hope next time I'm there, I'm there. So how did she become
A part of the, yeah, great
part
question.
of the brand, and what made you guys chase her for this brand, which she's done a fabulous job.
So she was just working on Volcan when we met her. The
Hmm.
company has, call it, three co-founders. I was with them, but the three co-founders are a guy named Michael Dolan, who's ex-CEO and board member of Bacardi, and then Juan Coronado, who was a part of Bacardi. He was the Heritage, founded the Heritage Group, and then also we had Elise Salm. Juan had known Anna Maria. Uh, all of us had wanted, and especially Mike Sr., wanted a agave forward, additive free product that really bespoke well of the highlands of agave and really treated the agave well. So um, they had known, Juan had known her and met her. And then Juan's taste profile and what Juan had projected as a product, they had sort of married, if you will,
Hmm.
on what that taste profile was. So number one, we felt like she was the best person to produce a taste profile. We were also enamored with the fact that she had written a book about aromas. She was from the wine background to begin with, and we thought all of
Oh,
those foundational. Yeah, she had developed the aroma wheel for tequila, and but she had really perfected that palate in the wine. She did a lot of advising in wine in the early days before tequila. Um, and we really felt like that there were a couple of facilities. We used 1499 and 1412. 1412 more as a test kitchen for her. And we felt like she knew her way around those areas. And they also had a commitment to additive free, this really agave forward profile. So, CJ, it's funny. We started the project in 2019, but we didn't produce anything till 2020. Mike Senior, or Mike Dolan, was very methodical, and we really developed the brand before we ever launched. So it was he had invested quite a bit in the development of not only the juice but also the branding itself.
Yeah.
And she did a great job. She did a couple of things that I asked her not to do, but it turned out awesome. So I told her never to listen to me again. I had owned a distillery before and had thought I knew enough about aging and bourbon. We use an acacia wood for both the Reposado and the Añejo, and I didn't want to use it. She goes, "Oh, Miguelito, it puts out this really beautiful, it'll help with the palate." I said, "No, I've used it in wine. This is higher density of alcohol. It's not going to be in the wood 18 months. It's only going to be in there 6 to 9 months. Don't do it. Don't do it." She did it. I tasted it. And I even told Mike Dolan, the owner, I said, I'm worried. We've got $40,000 or $50,000 worth of liquid sitting in something. I tasted it. It was beautiful. I said, "I'll shut up. I'll leave you alone. You just keep making great juice." And it really does add a little bit of that butter, almond, a nut kind of tone in the middle palate. So she did a great job, and very, it was a good marriage in the sense that we allowed her to have the freedom and allowed her to experiment to extent instead of just American aged white oak. She works on a lot of projects, but she's also coming out with stuff on us for what we're going to call Maestro selection in September. And that's in symphony barrels. Once again, I didn't want her to do it, and I tasted it. It's delicious. It's gorgeous.
And that's going to run under the Mijenta brand?
Mm-hmm. We're going to come. We're going to do something once a year with her.
Okay.
To keep her. We have a quality control person that takes every batch to make sure it's similar to the one she starts. But we're always going to have something once a year where she's going to play around it. This one's going to be still strength. There might be something unusual barrels. She's really gotten aggressive with agave, and on this particular one, when the Quiote or the flowers and blossoms, we're taking those seeds and actually using them in the fermentation.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Never. I have not heard that one before.
Neither have I. And I'm excited to taste it. We'll be launching in September.
Yeah.
Once a year, we're going to do something special. We're going to call it Maestro Collection. This will be collection number 1. And in and out, we're only going to do about 1,000 cases, 9-liter cases.
So since you went there first, you guys, for both your repo, which I found very interesting, and the blue bottle, the reserve, you use 4 barrels to make both of those additions. So you're using the expensive barrels as well on the repo, which I mean, you could taste it. I mean, there's plentiful, notes in the tequila that has just really become something phenomenal. So, as you mentioned, American white oak, bourbon barrels used, French oak, Acacia oak,
Acacia
oak, and cherry oak casks.
Cherry is in the Añejo. We really don't have very little or no cherry in the Reposado. Those are the main 3 barrels in the Repo. We save that cherry in the Añejo, and it brings the back profile a little bit crisper. That stone fruit kind of adds to it and gives a little bit more what we think is a little more regal back end feel. But yes, the acacia is very expensive. The sherry's expensive. And the American used white oak is, I think, like everyone else, it's like those old Jack Daniel barrels. I was shocked when, having done a lot of bourbons before, I was shocked at how well the tequila took to the acacia wood. It had a bigger impact than I thought.
Yeah, and there's very few people in the industry, the tequila industry, that uses it. Every once in a while, you'll hear it come out in a special reserve type of thing, or a limited product, because those barrels are so expensive. I know Tao was talking about it, and I want to say when I was at Sergio Cruz's place at 1414, they were also talking about it.
Oh,
But
really?
I don't know. I don't know if they ever made it into bottles or if it was one of those wish programs. But I mean, the fact that you guys are actually using it in your repo and your anejo, wow,
Hey,
that's
CJ, have you tasted the Cristalino yet?
I have not.
Oh my goodness! So that's another time. So we use symphony barrels, and the oak, the stave, is a different form of oak. And there's 4 oaks: Minnesota, Missouri, I want to say Virginia, and maybe North Carolina. There's 4 different oaks in that symphony barrel. And once again, I've seen that used in wine. There was one called Conundrum, I think, a long time ago that used it in wine. But when you taste that, what happens is it gives it a strong vanilla. And then when you're filtering it, something else too I didn't know, we use a vegan charcoal that most charcoal has animal bones in it, which I never knew. So we use a vegan charcoal to filter it, obviously stripping out that color. And there's no way, I know I have a lot of people say that there's an art or magic to it, but Anna does a great job, but it does take a little bit of that vanilla off and creates more of the Mijenta taste profile. It's very complex, very unusual. Most purists don't like Cristalinos, but we get a lot of agave purists who love that Cristalino because the complexity of the taste comes through.
And I'm diving into it. I mean, now that you're speaking of it, and you're talking about using the symphony barrels, so
and
I'll let it sit open for a minute.
It's a Reposado, CJ. It's aged for about 8 months, 9 months. She doesn't use the word aging. She talks about when the product's mature, and that's the one thing she does is she looks at all of our barrels and starts before she blends it. And this, we thought this would be in there for about 8 months. It's about 8 to 9 months, and she thinks it's mature enough.
So it's your repo. You filter down, remove the coloring, and
we age that only in symphony barrels. So it's a totally separate juice. We don't use any of the acacia woods or any of the other woods that's used in the repo or the anejo.
So can you explain a little bit more about the symphony barrel? It's not one that I hear a lot about. I haven't researched anything of it.
When what they'll do is what you'll see people do is they'll take that log and run from some similar oaks. Most symphony barrels only have 1 or 2 different oaks in the stave. This has 4 different oaks in that stave, and it gives it a real strong vanilla. Also, the symphony barrel is cured for an unusually longer period of time than most barrels. It's something Anna thinks it also gives the chemical compound in what's called vanillin. It gives that vanillin mouthfeel to it, if you will. And then when she filters it and strips away the color, I do think it takes a little of that vanilla away, which we are glad, because we don't want it over dominating the agave. And it has really unusual, in my opinion, very clean finish. We think it makes great. I love it. I just had some this weekend, an espresso martini.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Nice talk to it. But yeah, it's something that that she's been wanting to do, that symphony barrel, or that, if you want to call it, that multi-oak stave type barrel. And it's when you see it, it even has, you can see the different oaks on the outside rings of the barrel. It's really cool.
Huh. And another thing that I was reading, that you're talking about an unusual amount of time. She also likes to ferment longer than normal, is what I was reading.
Yes. So we're on the first batch, and it's 4 or 5 days, and I'm talking to her. I'm going down there and watching her. I'm learning. And yeah, it's like 96 hours. And I kept saying, Anna, they're going to kill us. We got to get the juice out of the tank. We've got to get this moved over and start distilling it. Not ready. And she's maniacal. And this is another area I've learned about the pH balance being at about a 5. And she watches it on these fermentations. They track it every hour. And that gives the note of the softness of the tequila. But yes, once again, I tasted it. Hey, Anna, I'll shut up. You just keep doing exactly what you're doing. Don't listen to me anymore. Don't listen to me when it comes to barrels. Yes, she has a very long, and that's another thing about 1412 and 1499. They allow us this usage of these tanks. And now that the brand's gotten a little bit bigger, it does take up some room. But yes,
Yeah,
she's very long, very detailed, very anal about checking the pH balance versus the sugar versus the alcohol. But I learned a lot from her and how important that pH balance is in the roundness of the agave flavoring that you get when it goes to distillation.
so she's really hitting for not necessarily the sugar content. She's going for the pH, which she thinks is the magic number to start.
She thinks it's, yeah, she does.
The magic number to start distilling then
Yes.
from that process.
Exactly.
Of course, typical tequila, it's got to be distilled twice.
Yep.
What's it generally coming out of the tap at on proof?
Probably coming out after you remove the heads and then you distill it again on the second distillation. It's coming out at about 55% ABV. It sometimes we'll get a little higher on that, but most of the time it might get a little lower, and that's only because she likes the temperature a little lower than what other people boil, distill, whatever verb you want to use. She does keep it a little bit lower temperature. And she does a very good job of cutting the heads off. And yeah, about 55%. And I think she typically will add a little bit of water and then barrel it around 50. Obviously the Blancos we take down to 40% ABV. But yeah, she'll add just a touch of water before she puts it into the barrel.
With is how hot or let me rephrase, with the popularity of high proofs coming out, is there any talks of that?
Yeah, that first collection I was telling you about where we've used the seeds, that will be what we call still strength, that first Maestro collection, and that will be at 50% ABV. Not quite the 55, but she wants to soften with a little bit of water. I think also in tasting, this is before it's been aged for a while. And excuse me, it's not aged at all. But before we took it down to 50 in some tasting of it, it was really, really, really cool and had a touch of herbalness to it, I guess, from the seeds. I'm really excited about tasting. I'll get some samples to you, but we should have some samples here early July.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna sell it and launch it for Hispanic Heritage Month. So we'll launch it in the middle of September, and hopefully we're going to do that every year with something unique. But I had not really been my palate's not mature enough where I've tasted a lot of high strength tequilas. Obviously, a lot of high strength bourbons and whiskeys, but I don't know if that herbal or minerality and I'm not using the right adjectives.
Yeah.
That I get on the front end. I don't know if that's from the proof or if that's from the seeds. I'll be curious to see. Anna's gonna be here at the end of July, so it'll be. We're going to take a little tour with her. I think she's going to Tales of the Cocktail or Tales in New Orleans. She's going to be up in Denver. Her family lives part of her family. Her daughter lives in Atlanta with their kids.
Oh, okay.
So she's going down there to visit too.
And you're going to join her and do some touring with her?
Yes, I'll meet her on part of it, and then we're getting her in front of part I'm going to meet her on. We're going to get her in front of about 50 Safeway store tequila clerks and managers at the end of July. So I'm going to do the West Coast trip with it.
Awesome. Well, if you
Yeah.
guys make it to the central United States,
I'll
make
definitely.
sure you hook me up, and I'd
You know
be
what?
glad.
What I'll do is I'll give you a schedule, and maybe you can meet us
Yeah.
along the way, or
Absolutely.
because you're not in Chicago though, are you? Where are
No,
where,
I'm in Kansas City.
That's
It-
what I
it-
thought. Okay, yeah.
and I know everybody says Kansas City, what? But we actually do on the Kansas City, Missouri side. We have a phenomenal tequila following, and we do get those special lots that I'm so fortunate to be able to pick up. It's amazing. I see a lot of other states or regions, and I just feel so sorry for them. I mean, the best they're getting, is Jose Cuervo or
Yeah.
Casamigos, and that's about the extent of it. So I feel blessed here in Kansas City to have what we have, and we have a couple of really amazing distributors that support it very, very well. So, yes, Kansas City, we do have a following, and they love to show up at those type of events where you got tequila masters and stuff like that coming out. So
I'll
if you
definitely
ever make
give your schedule, and we just now started distributing in Missouri and in Kansas. Breakthrough's our distributor in
yeah,
Missouri, and we have a small one in Kansas named LDF, so a wine distributor that's
yes,
pretty good for us.
I'm familiar with both of them.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with both of them. So you're at a gnome that that is doing some really good tequilas. They're
Mhm.
not oversaturated with 50 brands like some of
Oh
these
yeah.
distilleries. You got Hacienda there, Don Felix, and Cordito there, which
Mhm.
all of them have strong followings and so forth. So I mean, you guys being there, it's really it's got to be a special thing for you guys as well. Being in there with you know all brands really being at the top of the tequila industry and being highly sought after. I mean, I think we have all of them here in Kansas City except for Don Felix. So
You don't see Don Felix a whole lot of places. It's a nice product. Uh, a couple of them are really good, but yes, it's been a really good relationship. They've done a really good job. I think the thing that I'm most pleased about, and I always tell our team, is how consistent they have been. We haven't really, and we do a lot of chromatography work after each batch, but the taste profile and the product itself, they've done a really good job. There's a female person who runs the production of that too. Yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
it's really cool. It's one of the few that have a female production director or a plant manager. It's funny. We didn't really say, hey, we're going to go be really diverse. This wasn't, we thought it was really cool that Anna Maria, at that time, one of the more rare having a female master distiller, but the company is about 63% female. We have a female co-founder. So we talk about being female led, but we really are. And I think one of the things that Anna Maria is really proud of as our company is that we were the first B Corp certified tequila. In that process, we probably would have been certified faster once again if I hadn't gotten in the way. But they audit our books, they audit our vendors. Is your label really made out of agave waste? Are you really farming in areas with no pesticides, insecticides? But I think while she works on other projects, I think she really likes Mijenta because of our commitment to the community, the culture, trying to give back. And I think that also makes her a happy master distiller. If you know what I mean. She
Yes.
not only does she enjoy the work, but she enjoys the enterprise.
Which reminds me, but when I was doing a little searching around, I noticed that you're a corporate certified B.
Yep. B
So
Corp
can you
certified.
can
So
you
what?
explain some of that? What's that all
Yeah,
about? Just
it's a
for us
group.
who don't know.
It's a group out of Switzerland. And what they've done is they've identified and recognized certain corporations for their community giving, the culturally giving back, diversified. Like I said, we're 63% female. So what they do is they actually audit your company, and they audited our employee census, our taxes. They audit our vendors. We make most of the paper goods out of there are made with agave waste. So they audited the paper company. Are they really doing that? They also look at how we treat the land. We give back to various charities. Women's Earth Alliance is an agricultural charity in Mexico that we give back to. We buy most of our point of sale in Mexico. So they audit the vendor. Are you really getting this in Mexico? Then they award it, and you're allowed to talk about what kind of corporation you have. Patagonia's one. Maker's Mark is a B Corp certified brand or company. I don't know, it's not, a Sip Smith, or there's a gin out there that I know it's B Corp certified, but it's something we're very proud of. Something that we think is an important part of the process of being a good steward. First it starts with great liquid.
Yeah,
Doesn't
absolutely.
matter. Doesn't matter if you're B Corp certified and it tastes like shit. But so obviously it was an important component of the branding that Mike Dolan wanted to do when he first set out and started this. And Elise Somm. Elise is one of the co-founders I mentioned earlier when we first started. Elise is a sustainability engineer from Harvard, and Mike had met her. She designed furniture for Bacardi out of old Bombay packaging and bottles. So she made tables out of Bombay bottles. That's how he met her. She's a really interesting person. She's a great brand steward. She has a good soul to our brand. Her and Juan did a lot on the packaging and the look. And we used a company called Sunshine, another company called Stranger to help us design the packaging. And Stranger is the one who did the iconic labels for 8 Years in the Desert, for Orange Swift, Prisoner, that line of wines. That's B Corp certified. I didn't mean to go on about it, but it's something we're proud of.
Yeah, no, it's good.
It was really cool. Something I didn't know about until we started the venture, and I started hearing about it a little bit.
Yeah. So the other thing that, of course, you're additive free with Grover, and you made all that. I want to talk about the Grand Reserva now. That is something special, which you showed me earlier that you happen to have a bottle of it there. And wow, that has so much. It almost kind of reminds me of Tears, but a little bit sweeter and a little bit more character. I mean, Tears is great. Don't get me wrong. But this is what I'm trying to compare yours to, with the complexity of all the notes that you pick up in a single glass, and it's just amazing.
She one of the things that she did, first of all, was we were really wanting to get that out of the wood and really be ready to go at around 13 months. She decided that it needed longer, so it's aged close to 18 months. All of those barrels, not just one barrel. Some of them are aged a little longer. And believe it or not, CJ, that 90 days, that 100 days extra in the wood, especially the cherry wood, really made a difference. So hats off to Anna with, I think, one of the more beautiful spirits that I've seen one make. She takes about, and this varies depending on the juice or the liquid and the way it ages in the microclimate. She takes about half of that's American oak, and then it's a lot of acacia, a lot of cherry, and a lot of sherry. And that stone fruit, in my opinion, man, it comes through really good at the end. I was really surprised by that. I was thinking it was a acute wood, but not imparting a lot of flavor. And boy, it really did. To your point, you get this complexity and you get this really cool back end finish on it that you don't get on most tequilas. It has a very
Right.
Scotch type of layering of flavors. And the fact that it's all natural, she doesn't do anything to it, is just amazing to me. It's just, she's putting those woods together, and the way that it hits that, the microclimate they don't have really a rick house, but in the back where they store the barrels, it just works. And they don't really rotate the barrels that much either. Usually about every 6 months you would tend to be rotating, but they tend to stay stationary, which is another thing that surprised me. And the liquid just holds up so good. And you still get agave. You still get the other thing that I think she's so smart. You still get this sort of Mijenta taste profile in each one of these.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't realize it, but her commitment to every drop of the Añejo being our Blanco, every drop of that being generating that product is something that, now that I've seen a lot of other products who don't do that, it makes a huge difference. And you get this agave, this melon, cantaloupe front mouth feel, and then it goes into the aging in the back. It's really something that's very art-like.
Yeah. No, it is. It is a very special expression, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much going on there. I think similar to Tears, that almost every sip through, I mean, you're picking up another note, and it's just amazing. And the cherries, when I first hit it, took a sip of it, and I'm trying to go through flavors in my head. Yeah, it was like, wow, I've never tasted that much cherry on a tequila before.
I haven't at all.
And to me, it totally worked. I mean, it was awesome. So
I think it works too. I agree. The other thing too about it is, when I first started smelling it, I read it. I do. Anna really likes people to do sort of that clockwork, really take time. And once again, been in the industry 35 years, really didn't take that kind of time on the nose, but I did with this. And you got the evolution of that. By the time I got finished, amazing. And you could pull up the stone fruit itself and the aroma. And I think also that extra time of acacia, it really does deliver this buttery umami kind of what you use it for when you do it with Chardonnay. It takes the tartness out of that Chardonnay, and it really works. It really, very, in my opinion, smooth middle palate from the agave getting back to the back where you're getting all those characters from the wood. It's that part she was a stinking genius on, because I would have never, like I said, I told her not to use that wood.
No, don't use it. No, go ahead, use it.
Well, please use more. It's like Saturday Night Live, more cowbell, more acacia, more acacia. And, it's not an easy wood to find. You're either getting it from somewhere in Brazil or you're taking it from France. So it wasn't as common. When we first started this, we launched it online only, just the Blanco. We weren't like other tequila companies. We had Blanco, and then when it aged long enough, we had Repo. Then when it aged long enough, and we ran out of we had to steal from the Añejo because the Repo did so well. So we launched the Añejo in 2022 and didn't have any in basically 2023 till November. And now the company's invested millions of dollars for us to be able to have plenty of Añejo and expand the range. But we did it online first, and then we did clearing houses just so we can make sure we can make it more than once. Does it taste the same? Really learn our partners in production. So then in 2022, we started going to more traditional distributors. But when we did that, we ran out of the Añejo in three months. Then we stayed with traditional distributors, and now we're more broadly based distributed. And
Yeah, I think
in
I
our
even
market,
seen it in Total Wine when I was in
yep,
there this week.
yep.
Um,
Total
I,
Wine does a really good job with it.
yeah, and it was in their special cabinet, and it's like, oh, and at a very reasonable price.
We're trying to, you know, we thought we'd be about 199. We're really closer to probably 149 to 179. We really think that the juice belies that and can carry that, can deliver that. You start getting above that 199 price point, and then you start thinking, but the juice has to be incredibly rare, and we want something like this enjoyed. So
Right.
he made a huge investment in agave, a long-term agave agreement, and then we made a long-term investment in production, a production agreement, so we can keep this going. Yeah, it's exciting. I didn't, you know, when we first created it, I didn't think it would have this. I just didn't imagine the special character nature of it. But yeah, the Grand Reserve is probably one of the better spirits I've been associated with, and the care and production, and then the actual output. I've made a lot of products in my career. Some of them not very good, but this is something I'm very proud of. And Anna deserves a lot of credit. Mr. Dolan and his investment in Juan and Elise and their vision. It's really come together over about a 3-year period.
And I just want to go back and touch on something that you were
Okay.
starting to associate with, and you were saying how when you came out, you only had Blanco,
Yeah.
and I know this from some other brands that we won't name, and some of these brands, you know, they want to come out with every single expression. So here you got a brand new company, and they already have Blanco, Repo, Anejo. And what some of those brands, and what I've learned is they'll go out and they'll purchase
Yeah.
that juice from another distiller, and they'll market it so they're able to come out with all three expressions.
Yep.
And they feel that's a necessity, but it's not always the right choice, because
No.
you're using somebody else's reputation, and now it's becoming your reputation because your name's on the bottle. So
Exactly.
that does happen quite frequently for some of these newer distilleries that are just coming out.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're transparent and you're straightforward and telling people what you're doing, there's nothing wrong with that. What we didn't want to ever do is have someone thinking that the Grand Reserva was not our Blanco. We wanted our Blanco, and she was, not only were we committed, but she was very diligent. I don't think Anna would do that, and even if we did want to do it, Anna would not put her name on it. And we thought the integrity of having our Blanco in every drop of the Grand Reserve is important. But you know, if it's just when people aren't transparent or direct, that it's a little, that it becomes to your point, it becomes misleading. And in our industry, as you know, the distributor says, hey, he wants everything all at once. What if the Blanco doesn't do well? Then I don't want the Repo. And we just were not going to, we were going to not follow industry, what at that time standards. And we just did the Blanco only. And once we had the Repo, we did the Repo. The Repo was supposed to launch in September of 21, but it was late. We didn't get it out till January of 22. I think I said that right. Maybe it was January of 21 we got it out, and it was supposed to be out in September of 20. However, longer story longer, the excitement of delivering something and then tasting it after it's been aging and making it a commercial value is really cool. And Anna has a sort of palate ability to taste the wood. It needs another month. It needs, it's ready. And I've never seen anyone quite have that sort of palate skill sets or capability like she does. And, you know, all of her products are a little different. Either the yeast is different, the fermentation may be shorter or longer, or she cuts the heads off. It's funny. None of there's an Anna profile, but none of the products she makes. Have you tasted Corrido?
Yes, I have tried. I think I got to try the Blanco on it, and it was very nice as well. And
Yeah,
that's
it's good
where I
product.
was actually supposed to meet her at when I was there
Oh,
in Mexico. we were staying not far from the deal, and as there was some conflict in us getting together that day. But yeah,
We'll,
I
we'll
wanted to meet
definitely
her.
get you together when she comes into the U.S. We'll definitely get you there, whether she's going to be in Chicago or Dallas or whatever. We'll set up a time you can participate in one of her seminars.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's a great educator. She's very good for the industry, and she's very good for spreading the knowledge. She doesn't speak real good English, but she does speak well enough to communicate, and does a really good job on these educational seminars. In fact, I think she might be doing one at Tails.
Oh, okay. Going back to your Cristalino.
Uh-huh.
At first, you're right. It was very heavy on it, and the longer you let it breathe, it starts to get more enjoyable. And the thing that I found interesting is I didn't taste the vanilla on the front end. It was more on the back end for me.
Huh.
So it wasn't the first thing I tasted, which with as much vanilla that you were saying was coming out of it until you started filtering it. It was interesting. So yes.
So did she wanted you to get sort of this marshmallow feel, and what you're saying is more what she wanted on the back end of that profile. And marshmallow is my word. She uses this sort of cream word in Spanish, but
Yeah.
that makes me feel better that you got it more on the back end, because we didn't
Yeah.
want it to overcome the agave on the front end or on the nose.
Yeah.
What'd you think about the nose or the aromas?
At first, first neck pour, you definitely need to let it breathe.
Yeah.
I think that's important with this
Good
one.
advice.
It needs to breathe, and then once it starts to open up and oxidize a little bit in your glass, then you can start to smell some of the aromas that are very pleasing. And I mean, on the nose, I think it's great. Again, you get a little bit of that vanilla out of it, but it's not overpowering to where you're not smelling. That's the only thing you're smelling.
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah,
Good.
it was good.
It was really unique. There was a lot of internal debating on the profile for that SKU, and we all agreed that we didn't want the vanilla. Okay, it's cool we're doing something in a symphony barrel, but at the end of the day, we didn't want the vanilla to overpower it. And I'm glad you said that. It makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And that's just now coming out. We launched that in February, and it's just now starting to make the round. And it's going to be something short term doing well off premise, and then long term, hopefully, the ounce cost doesn't hurt us, and we can really expand the awareness and trial of it on premise.
Absolutely. Any chance of that not being filtered and bottled?
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring that up. It's actually a very good question. So, CJ, when we get a lot of people ask us for barrel programs. And we looked at one with Benny's up in Chicago. We've looked at one with Specs in Texas. And on that barrel program, we ran a little bit of difficulty because, wow, I want something like the Reposado. Well, it's not one barrel.
Right.
When I taste the Acacia, it's one taste profile. I taste the sherry cask so there's not really one barrel to go to. So, and we didn't really have enough inventory. Now we do. And we thought with the Symphony barrel that it is something that if someone wanted a barrel program and do it out of that barrel, then that's a way for us where we don't have to have the discipline of the Mijenta profile, and someone could have a different tequila and still be in the family. So we're looking at doing some barrel programs with that Symphony barrel unfiltered. Remind me, I'll send you a sample of it unfiltered. It's pretty wild.
Awesome. I would love that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got, and I just like to taste. I mean, a symphony barrel expression, untouched.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
No, I'd be glad to give to him. We got samples up in Dallas, and just I'll have Allie send some to you. It's you'll note that not only and the color of it wasn't overly dark. It was like a dirty Chardonnay, so we didn't have to filter it to what I mean a hard filter. You don't have to go back and back through the charcoal to strip the color out of it. So that was a good thing too, because then you're allowing more of that taste profile to exist. It's definitely a lot more that vanillin comes through. You'll see it. I don't want to spoil your. I don't want to influence your taste profile by saying anything, but I'll be curious to see what you think about it.
So, and just, I'm actually trying to get to a piece of data. So, yesterday we hit 25,000 people in the group.
Wow.
And I was trying to see if I could figure out, but I can tell you that women are becoming a bigger part of the group. And the reason why I bring this up is they love supporting projects like Mijenta, where it's 60% owned, ran and organized by a woman. But, I frequent a lot of liquor stores, and I do some consulting for them on brands that they should be bringing in. And one of the newer groups or liquor stores that I'm starting to work with is in Lenexa, Kansas. And, when she's showing me what she has, and she needs a lot of work, but she's very proud of the ones that are women owned and operated, with the women brand tequila owners and or master distillers and so forth. And they're really getting behind it, which is pretty phenomenal to see.
I think it's very cool.
Yeah,
it is.
It is.
And we tell everybody we do have some minor female owners, but we're female led. We have one primary owner, a guy named Mike Dolan, I told you about earlier. But throughout the on our board, in our investment group, co-founder, and then like I told you, any given day, it's between 60 and 65% of our total company is female. And it's amazing for them. They have this demographic, if you will, is really migrated to tequila. A lot of people thought that some of that migration or that women acceptance of tequila was because the agave is from the asparagus family. It's not typical like a corn. So there's different sugars and starches, and you can't say anything's good for you, but it's believed to be that it's less harmful for you because the agave itself and the sugar and starch in there is more of a vegetable, asparagus, than something like corn where you get a lot of different types of sugars and starches. So I think that was some of that migration, especially during COVID, towards tequila, and then the flexibility of it. It's very mixable. And if you want to try the Blanco and try it straight, then you can really get the different mechanics of what someone's making, unlike a vodka, which is basically by definition odorless, colorless liquid. So you still get this craft, but this very mixable product, whether it's in a ranch water, Paloma, or margarita. Also, and my wife is she loves Manhattans, and that Reposado makes really a good old fashioned or a Manhattan.
Yes. And I got to try one of those for the first time. Majority of the time I just drink it, neat, very neat. And somebody goes, "Have you ever had an old fashioned made with tequila?" And I'm like, "No." And they gave it to me. And it was like, "Oh, wow, this is a whole new thing."
Delicious. It really is.
Yeah.
It just speaks to how the bandwidth of the product tequila is. It's funny. It's 2,000 years ago, Aztecs were just letting it ferment and drinking pulque, and someone started the Spanish came and taught them with olive beet stills and how to cook stuff. It's just amazing how the roots of this product are so flexible in the way it was drank, even with when they used to drink sangritas back to, the spicy tomato juice as a chaser.
Yeah. So I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
That's coming in. Can we see a future of an extra añejo?
We've talked about that. I'm skeptical. One, because I don't know if we're gonna have enough liquid, and number two, I do agree with the thought process that after a period of time, you don't want the oak or the barrel to overtake the tequila itself. So there might be. Right now, I would say there's not a plan for it. I think right now what we're going to do is every year come out with something different and unique. We've never heard, once again, I think the first one to ever use acacia, and I also think that she's the first one to ever incorporate the Quiote seeds from that agave plant in the fermentation. So I think she's going to do more stuff like that and less on the aging. She is very sensitive about the oak overtaking the liquid.
Yeah, and there's a few of those out there that are like that.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Which is, good. That's a different kind of taste profile, but it's not something she's really interested in making.
Right. Absolutely. And just to recap, when are you thinking that will be available?
We're going to have that launched in Kansas and Missouri. It'll definitely be launched towards the end of September.
Okay.
This small amount will go in and out. We're going to do it around Hispanic Heritage Month. We'll utilize and celebrate Mexico independence on September 16th as the launching period for that. We want to be able to do that every year and actually make that something iconic with the brand and its respect to Mexico.
Awesome. Yeah, for those people who are just joining in and asking a few of those questions. Absolutely. Well, I'm out of questions. I mean, you've done a phenomenal job of explaining, and hopefully one day we'll get the opportunity and the privilege to get Anna Maria on here.
That's a great idea. Let me maybe when she's here in the States, you can do another one with her.
Absolutely.
And we can and maybe Juan can come too, and then Juan can fill in some language gaps or language obstacles that might come up so he can further explain. But yeah, it's a great idea. Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
And Christine, yes, this is Anna Maria's product. So just to answer your question, now she laughs. All right. I appreciate it. If you got any other small clips or things that you want to add that we can expect or not expect, or
I think you can start seeing the bottle go a little longer. So the bottle the neck is not long enough for when you're doing a bar pour. So you'll start seeing the Cristalino bottle that you have will be the new form. It's also, once again, more women can grab it. Right. So the form will be a little different. And that's the only packaging thing that we're working on. Maybe coming out with the liter size for the Blanco because we're getting some on-premise work. But no, not the Maestro Collection #1 will be out in September. And then we're going to start working on another one for next year.
Awesome. I can't wait to try it. And I look forward to see what Anna Marie does with some of these annual projects.
I know.
It's going to be
enjoy
awesome.
A good reposado old fashioned, my friend, and have a great, God bless all of the veterans that may or may not be on your thread there, but
yes,
have a great weekend and look forward to talking to you again when Anna Marie is in the States.
Thank you very much, Mike Howard.
Thank you. Be safe.
Right. Bye-bye.